Hi, and welcome to Real Track Talk. I'm Donovan D'Souza from The Long Ways Better.
And I'm Mark Pybris from The Life of Pi. Welcome to episode 37. We have a Tassie special for you today. We're doing day walks in Tasmania.
Hence why we're Real Track Talk.
Yes, so we've been told off quite a few times that they don't have trails in Tassie, they have tracks. So that's why we are Real Track Talk tonight.
Yes, so we're going to go back and replace all the old episodes.
Yeah, maybe just leave it for this Taswegian special.
Yep.
So the format we're going to run through, we understand that Tasmania is a very large place and it is probably nigh on impossible to do every single trail within a short amount of time.
Definitely.
So combined between us, we have a good selection of tracks that we will be discussing, and we'll go in one big loop around the island just to make it geographically easy to follow.
Yeah, starting with Lonnie and then working our way clockwise.
Yes, clockwise. Still takes me a while, even when I'm trying to figure out which way to go or which way I've been on a hike. I always have to look up at the sky. Yeah. So Donovan has done the Lonnie hikes. I will be doing them some of them very soon. So we'll get started with Douglas Aspley Gorge.
Apsley. Well, it's not quite Lonnie.
It's just we're starting in Lonnie and we're driving a little bit together.
Yeah, sure.
So what was this gorge like? How does it compare to some of the other gorge walks, say, we have in WA?
Not as good as WA. So let's, I think it's a nice thing here. We can say we've got something that we do a bit better than Tasmania, and that's our gorges are gorgeous.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Yep. But this is a lot of fun. So what I like about this walk is it's this full circuit. And you walk up through the forest, and to begin with, you come to this pool in the gorge, and then you walk through the forest up to the top, and then you descend into the gorge, and then it's a wild, trackless walk back to the start, which is pretty fun.
Mm.
So Alyssa and I did, a lot of scrambling and climbing up to one side and coming down and going to the other, bit of wading. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Mm. And what type of forest are we talking about here?
So there's a few pines, but they're not the pines you see in other parts of the state. They're a bit drier looking, but they do have that kind of almost Canada-esque pine look, mixed with dry sclerophyll forest, and the rock type is all dolerite, so it has that nice, typically Tasmanian look about it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to Freycinet and Mount Amos.
Yes.
You did the slightly harder version of the usual walk here, didn't you?
Yeah, so a lot of people do, the loop to Freycinet Beach, but we were persuaded to take the harder route, which is to go up Mount Amos. And from Mount Amos, it's probably the nicest view that you can get of the Freycinet Peninsula without hiring a helicopter or a drone. So, this is a legitimate high vantage point down to Wineglass Bay.
Yeah.
It's a spectacular walk. Difficult, very difficult. Wouldn't want to do it in wet weather, but it's a fantastic walk.
And great opportunity to get your famous Instagram shot.
Exactly.
Of Wineglass Bay and that turquoise water. Exactly.
It's outstanding. It's it deserves to be considered one of the most beautiful beaches in Australia, if not the world. I would love to come back here, because there's just so much to offer. There is obviously the multi-day there, but you can do the walk to Hazards Beach and to Wineglass, just do a short circuit, and that's a walk that a lot of people have done instead of is really enjoyable. So probably we'll do that next time I'm in the area.
I think we've got this got that lined up, and I think it'll almost be on the flight there.
Yeah.
When this airs, so a few more weeks and we'll have another few to add.
Awesome.
Yeah. So moving down the coast.
Yeah, there's a bit of a gap here where we haven't explored between Freycinet and Tasman, and there are walks there. Yeah. We just haven't done them.
No. Again, there'll be a lot of one day or maybe in the future.
Yeah, there's Maria Island, which has some really awesome looking walks on there. There's the Bishop and the Clark. That's quite popular there. But yeah, that's for the future.
Yeah. So we'll just talk about hikes that we have done. And next one is Cape Hui, which I've technically done, but it's as part of the 3 capes. So from Fortescue Bay, which is the popular sort of day tripping area around the Tasman Peninsula, you can walk to Cape Way, and it doesn't cost you anything, I think, maybe except for your Tassie Parks Pass.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So you can experience one of the 3 capes, which if you're doing the 3 capes, you're not experiencing all 3 capes.
Yep.
And it's one of the probably the better coastal day walks in Tassie, because you do get the views back to Fortescue Bay, walking through some really nice forest which has some pines in there, and then you do the Cape Way return leg, so out to the Cape. It's quite hilly, up and down, and a few people get caught out once they realise what's going on.
Yep.
But yeah, spectacular coastline. You got the dolerite pillars coming out of the ocean, and the famous totem pole climbing apparatus. Well, I don't know, I guess you'd say pillar.
Yep.
Which I read in the news the other day that someone had to be rescued because they'd fallen trying to get out to the totem pole.
Right.
He smashed 2 legs or something. And I think lucky it was a calm day, because that would have been painful.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, beautiful walk, and very popular as well. I mean, we were there on I think it was a Thursday when we finished, and there was still masses of people. So yeah, well worth the drive out there, and there's plenty to do around that Port Arthur area.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other cape that you can do as a day walk, which I think you can do all of them as a day walk, but Cape Pillar's a little further to go in one day, but you've done Cape Royal.
Yeah, so that's the one cape of the 3 capes that's not on the 3 capes.
Yeah.
And they've recently done it up to 3 cape standard in terms of, really quality track work and everything. I think that the walk there is a mix of good and bad. There's some nice forest walking at the start, but then it starts to become a bit of like, well, I want to see the coast, and I'm not seeing it. Unlike in WA, where most coastal walks are really open. Yeah. But that being said, the ending is outstanding. When you get to the Dolerite cliffs, it's the classic Tasmanian extravagance of beauty, and the actual point itself with all the pillars going out to they kind of on like a bit of a descending line. Yeah, it's really beautiful and stunning.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful from a distance. I can imagine up close it would have been quite spectacular.
Yeah, and I like that they, as with the other capes, that there's no railings. Get to a certain point, you can just keep going if you feel like it.
Yeah,
which you probably shouldn't at a certain point.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think I've heard anyone kind of falling off the cliffs on any of the 3 capes. Or
I don't think so. Yeah.
So you leave it sensible.
Yeah, it's probably a bit like the Gloucester tree where no one's died.
Yeah, miraculously. So then we kind of, from the Tasman Peninsula, we move into the main city of Hobart, and the Mount Wellington track area, like the circuits you can do through. I was amazed when I went up there. Yep. Just the variety and the way that they extend. Like you can pretty much walk from the suburbs straight up to Mount Wellington.
Yep, to the summit.
Yeah. Because part of the hike that we've both done, the Organ Pipes circuit, goes on the Lena Valley track, which is where my partner's sister lives, in Lena Valley. I was like, I had to drive all the way around through Hobart and then up the hill or up the mountain, whereas I think this track takes you to the edge of Lena Valley, which I thought was quite spectacular.
Yeah, it's a fantastic walk.
Yeah, the organ pipes themselves, amazing. And because driving up to the summit, you don't realise, like you think if there's walks in the area, it's going to be a bit noisy because of the cars and you're going to be able to constantly hear it or see a road or whatever, but you can fully immerse yourself out in nature on this track. And you're only, 20 odd minutes from the city centre?
Yeah, they are really lucky because, that standard of bushwalking so close to the city. It would be like if Bluff Knoll was just behind where Kings Park is.
Yeah, that's the analogy I use. I was like, just imagine they parked Bluff Knoll 20 minutes outside the city.
Yep.
It just would blow people's minds.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But in terms of the walking, it is stunning scenery because you get the organ pipes themselves as you walk under them, and then if you look to your right, you've got the Derwent River Valley and Hobart and the port and the river. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's like, I think the views from there, it's like on one side you're getting sort of Cradle Mountain-esque kind of views, and then the other side, as a West Australian, I always think it looks like Albany on steroids.
Yeah. That's probably a good description of Hobart.
Yeah.
Is Albany on steroids, yeah. And then you kind of, once you pass or cross over the road, you're into this kind of different forest that you could be anywhere in Tasmania.
Yeah.
It's, that good. And the scree fields, which I didn't
those are
expect
awesome.
as well.
Yeah.
So it took me back to Toolbrunup, but on a flatter, you're kind of going with the contour lines rather than going up them. Yeah. Beautiful hike. And this is where I saw my echidna.
Hey, awesome.
My first ever echidna sighting.
Yeah.
So this has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Awesome. And they've got those old huts as well that are along the way, which are kind of cool historical bits of interest.
Especially being like in the city, basically.
Yeah.
So imagine having like old huts where you'd stay in like Kings Park. It just, you wouldn't think about it other than them being like caretaker gardening huts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the whole area there, so you can do various tracks that go off, all the circuits you can do. Is it the Pinnacles track goes up to the summit, and the Lost World track, which I wanted to do, but it was closed when I was
it looks
there.
really good. It looks very Cradle Mountain, Walls of Jerusalem-esque, and just within a short distance of the city.
Yeah, and there's a couple of little loop trails that you can do on the summit. But it does get quite windy and touristy up there.
Yes, you get the bus loads up there.
Yeah.
Moving on from Hobart, there's an area southwest of there called the Huon Valley, which I've not really explored, but you spent a lot of time there. You went a bit nuts with the walks in that area.
So after we did 3 capes and kind of stayed around Hobart a little bit with Karis's family, I decided to have an extra week on my own, and I targeted 2 places because I thought, I don't want to be driving place to place, like trying to get to Cradle Mountain and then, somewhere near Launceston. And I thought I'll stay in 2 places and make it easy. And this area had a lot of hikes that I really enjoyed, and just the area itself is amazing because you're driving along the highway which goes along the Huon River, and you've got little towns, you've got farms, cideries. It was just an amazing place. So the first hike that I did going out there was Pelverada Falls, and it was an interesting hike. What I found with Tassie hikes is they just kind of plonk you in the middle of nowhere and say, here's the start of the trail, and you like after a while it starts to get good, but the start is kind of like, this was just farmland. You went through a little bit of forest and it went onto a road, and you got power lines going everywhere. It just kind of seemed a bit weird for a good hike. And then once you're into the forest, it was really awesome. There was a little bit of rainforest, some scree on the side of the mountain that you were going along, and then Pelverada Falls themselves are actually quite tall. I think it's one of the tallest in Tassie. And there's a little platform that is officially the end of the track, but you can climb down and then up the rocks there, which is quite dangerous, I imagine, when it's wet, but I got it on a nice dry day.
Yeah.
And then you've got like a little amphitheater in the valley, and it's quite cool. It's like the 3 capes, but on land, because you've got all the dolerite columns rising up, and they've got different heights, and then you've got the falls cascading over, which they weren't that vigorous when I was there. It was more of a slight trickle, but it was still cool. And a dog friendly hike, which if you're close to Hobart, you can get out there and take your dog for a walk.
Awesome.
And then moving on, so I kind of backtrack a little bit because I did 2 hikes with Karis's sister, Karis, and Karis's niece. So we went out for the day. We did Snug Falls first because that was on the way, and that was just a little 3 kilometer down the valley to the falls and back. Again, starting in a pretty nondescript area, but then once you descended down, it got more rainforest and the ferns, and that's kind of like, that was my first rainforesty experience in Tassie away from the 3 capes. So I was looking forward to doing that and spending a lot of time in that kind of terrain. And then the falls themselves, just a nice place to be. Like
Yeah.
you just go down, you can sit on the rocks, and I think I've got a nice panoramic, and it's got the falls. There's a fallen tree in front of it, and then just a lady sitting on the rock just admiring it.
And these areas are a little bit off the beaten track. They're a bit obscure as well. So were they more quiet, not with the tourist masses?
Yeah, so Pelverada Falls, I saw two couples, one on the way there and one on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
And then Snug Falls, there's actually quite a few families. It's a good family-friendly hike. And again, you can take your dog to Snug Falls. So there was a few, just locals from Snug, the nearby town, taking their dog for a walk. But yeah, the gravel road up and down, Karis' sister did not enjoy driving on it. I think we were going like 20 k's an hour for the whole thing. But yeah, fairly inaccessible. But if you know it's there, it's well signposted, so good hike.
Awesome.
And then the second hike we did that day, which sadly has been affected by the bushfires that hit Tasmania in January and Feb this year, and that was Tarhoon. So not officially, there are walks there, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a hike. It's more kind of touristy loops around the river there, and then you've got the airwalk, which I think only partially burnt down.
Didn't look good though.
I think
they photographed.
That one photograph, I think, is the entrance to the walkway, which was mainly wood. I think the steel bit of the walkway it survived, but I think they're probably still going to have to do a lot of engineering works on that to make sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such beautiful forest, and as soon as I heard it was on fire, I thought, no, don't hit Tarhoon, because the views you get up from the airwalk are just stunning. The area around there has been logged quite significantly, but the views you do get, you can imagine what it would have been like, way back when, before Forestry Tasmania took over and decided that area needed to be cleared.
Yeah. So comparing it to, say, the Valley of the Giants treetop walk, how would you describe it?
It has a better wow factor in the cantilever section that they've got. So you actually put out, I think it's like 30 or 40 meters over the river.
Oh, cool.
Whereas Valley of the Giants, you're just wandering around. I mean, it's still impressive to be up in the carries, but I'd probably rate Tarhoon over Valley of the Giants a little bit more because of that wow factor.
Yep.
And the fact that it's got a river there that you can walk around. So the second bit of the walk is the Swinging Bridges walk. So you walk down the Huon River and then across onto a little island, and then across the Picton River, which merges just there. And that was a really nice, again, rainforest walk. Saw another echidna. So that made me happy. And it just kind of adds like a little bit more to the day, because it is quite a drive out to Tarhoon from Hobart or wherever you're staying.
So after those walks, which one did you do next?
Yeah, so this was my first full day of being on my own, and I decided to do Mount Misery, which doesn't sound like the best hike, but it turned out to be quite nice. So it's just outside Huonville, and I apologize if I'm butchering that pronunciation at all.
I don't know, I've heard Huon, but then Alyssa likes to really rub in like the bad pronunciation. It says Juan. I said, don't say that to people. Yeah. Don't embarrass me.
Huonville. Huonville, we'll call it that from now on. Yeah. So it's actually on a private bush retreat property. That's where it starts, and they manage it as part of the agreement with being in the rainforest there. And it's probably best to bring a four-wheel drive or an SUV, because the road up there was just steep and bumpy, and they actually give you warning signs, like you have to stop and read cards whether you like over which vehicle you have.
And did you go in a vehicle that was suitable, or probably not?
No, I was in a Mitsubishi Outlander was my hire car, so I just put it into the four-wheel drive lock mode and I was fine. I did lose half my coffee on the way up though. But in terms of the walking, it's really beautiful rainforest to start, and from what they figure, it's about 300 or 400 years old, this section of rainforest, from the last fire that went through there. So really mature trees, lots of ferns, and then it's constantly climbing up, and then you hit the mountainy plateau. I think it's like 600 meters above sea level, and that section to the official summit, it's okay, you get some good views, but compared to the rainforests, I would rather the rainforest. But it's a good length, good views, good rainforest, and yeah, if you can make a donation while you're there, because it does cost money to upkeep. And and then from there, my second half of that day was the Harts Mountain National Park.
Oh, this is an area I really wanted to go to.
Yeah, so this one I had ticked off as like yes, this is one I'm really, really looking forward to. And 3 days prior, it had been blanketed in snow. Mm-hmm. So I was really excited to get up there and just see if there's like a little remnant of snow. Because although I'd seen snow before, it's I've never seen it on a hike. And I think it'd be a little bit more special. So I did Arve Falls first, which is right near the car park for Harts Peak. And that was just like a little 1 kilometre there and back to the falls. And you get, they're nice falls, and it's a good introduction to the area. So you may as well do it while you've driven up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big one was Harts Peak, which, I don't know, I thought the Tassie mountains would be a little taller, not in terms of height above sea level, but the actual hikes.
Prominence.
Yeah. Because you only start, I think it's about 850 or 900 meters above sea level, and Harts Peaks is only 1230 or 1240 above sea level. So the first bit of the hike is basically almost flat or a slight incline through a little bit of forest, and then you hit the alpine fields basically.
Yeah.
It is stunning. Like, you've been in the alpine regions of Tassie, and everything's green and wet and mossy, and you get all the button grass, and the boardwalks just kind of put you on that little bit of elevated ground so you can appreciate it all. And there's a couple of lakes or tarns along there that you can explore, and they're quite nice. And then you get into the real climbing, so a little bit steep, but then it's pretty manageable. And I had probably the perfect day to do it. It was probably 19-20 degrees, sunny, and no wind. So I wasn't really battling the elements there. And then just lots of rock scrambling and scree fields up to the summit, where you get the cool views of the Southwest National Park and all the wilder peaks out there. So I think I'd taken all the pictures, and then I went back to the map later. I'm just trying to fill them all in. I think Federation Peak was the main one.
Yeah. Oh, you could see Federation. Did it look awesome?
It did. Like, it was the one that had the bigger prominence, but it was all relative, because they were so far away that just a little bit of elevation didn't seem that much from where you were.
Yeah.
But yeah, excellent views up there. And there's Mount Snowy, which is just below Harts Peak. You can see that was quite a cool view.
Did it live up to its name?
Mount Snowy didn't. Not that I visited there, but Harts Peak had the tiniest amount of snow hidden in the crevices of the shadow face of the mountain. So I'm going to claim I saw snow.
Yeah.
It's a win.
Yeah.
And then the next day I moved on to Southwest National Park, which is a little bit further south than Harts Mountain, and taking in the very fringes.
Yeah, because this is a huge park, and some of the parts to the extreme southwest are extremely wild.
Yeah, so this I'm not really counting as a Southwest National Park experience.
Yeah.
It was somewhat tame. So the first one I did was Duck Hole Lake, which is a sinkhole, natural sinkhole, and it's created a lake within this rainforest. And it used to be an old sawmill tramway as well. So the path that you take is very flat and very open, just mainly in the understory. The canopy is quite thick, and you get to see a few remnants there of old boiler plates, I'm gonna guess, that had just been left there. It was quite a cool hike, very, very lush, and I got good weather there. It was really cloudy, so everything looked nice in the photographs. And then the second part of that day was Adamson Falls, which was one of the wilder actual hikes that I did in Tassie, because it was very muddy, and after a while you just forgot that you had muddy boots.
Yeah, that's the Tasmanian way.
Yeah. So it was lots of tree roots to climb up and down. Just all of a sudden you come across a muddy patch, and you're trying to figure out which is the bit that is fine that you can stand on, and then you go to stand in it and your ankle's deep in mud.
Yep.
So yeah, but there's plenty to keep you distracted, like lots of mosses, lots of ferns, lots of fungi. And then the falls themselves is actually quite spectacular. I'd probably say one of the better hikes with waterfalls I'd been on in Tassie. And it was 3 tiers. I got to the first tier. I didn't realize there was 2 other tiers because you couldn't see them.
Cool.
And the hike or the path next to it to get up to there is really steep, and it's not really defined. You have to kind of grab onto the tree roots and whatever you can to pull yourself up. And I got to the second tier, and I could see the third tier. I was like, this is awesome. I would have spent an hour or 2 at the waterfalls just photographing each one on the tripod and getting the filters out. And it was a really cool place to be. And I had that one to myself because it was so out of the way. You don't get many visitors.
Yeah.
But yeah, just beautiful place, and probably the best waterfall in Tassie that I visited, which...
And you went to a lot of waterfalls.
I went to a lot of waterfalls. There's a lot of falls in the naming of the trails on my website.
Yep.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much it for that area. And then I moved on to Mount Field National Park, which is an area you've also visited.
Yeah, it's one of the, I think, my favourite national parks there, and I think a bit underrated. It's not as spoken about as, as Tasman Peninsula or Cradle Mountain.
Yeah.
But I think it's right up there.
Yeah, indeed. And this is, an hour and a half west of Hobart.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fair way out of the city compared to, the south or Tasman Island, but it's still, as you said, very underrated.
Yep.
But the facilities there they've invested a fair bit with that visitor centre.
Yes, for sure.
And we'll start with the hike that begins there.
Yes.
And Lady Barron Falls Circuit.
So this was actually Alyssa's favourite day walk that we've done there. She loved it. And I think if you love rainforest and tall eucalypts and waterfalls, then this is the walk for you.
Indeed. 'Cause you get 3 of them on this hike.
Yes.
Lots of tall trees and, lots of lush rainforest.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But it is kind of I found it with Tassie as well. Like we do this in WA, where there's a lot of shorter trails that they then link up into one big trail. So this is Russell Falls track and the Tall Trees walk and the Lady Barron walk, just all rolled into one.
Yeah. So I always think that they should just be called the one circuit name, but they do this thing, which WA does as well, where they'll cut it into smaller pieces and say, oh, it's this walk. I've provided you with 4 trails, but really it's just one.
Yeah. But what we don't do in WA is in Tassie, they have the wooden signs to say this place half an hour that way, and that's how you navigate.
Yeah.
Whereas in WA would probably stick like 8 different varieties of a trail marker on the same tree, and you've got to follow like one colour. Depending where you're going. I quite like the Tassie way because it does break it up quite a bit.
And I like the style of their signs. I think that they look cool.
Yeah, I think because this one is coming out on my website tomorrow in recording time, and I just noted around Russell Falls, just felt like Jurassic Park a little bit.
Yeah, it does have that feel. Mainly
because of the amusement park style of Jurassic Park, like that kind of fakeness that we're recreating, the rocks here and the signs are all a bit kitschy. And I just had that feeling when I was just hiking around Russell Falls.
But it does have a feel that you could imagine a dinosaur running through. Like it has that rainforest Gondwana-y kind of feel about it.
I can imagine Don stopping in the ferns and being like, clever girl.
Yes.
And then no more Don. But you said in your one that Russell Falls was one of your favourite waterfalls in Tassie.
Yeah, I think so, because it's a very elegant waterfall. It's quite tall. It looks beautiful. It's 2-tiered. It just has a classically beautiful waterfall look about it. And I think, there's different types. There's the type of ones where they've got that kind of sloping falls, or ones that are sort of really heaps of higgledy-piggledy rocks. But this is just, it's so elegant in the way it falls, and the fact that it's so easy to access, because it's wheelchair accessible to Russell Falls. It just I think it's one that it's worth everyone seeing, and you can see why it's so beloved as a classic Tasmanian waterfall.
Yeah, indeed. When I was there, it was a Thursday afternoon, and it was just packed with people.
Yeah.
Just it's so accessible for everyone to experience a little bit of Tassie. Like if you don't have the body to hike up and down hills, you can just go to Russell Falls, and it's one of the better waterfalls in Tassie that you can experience. So.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to disagree with you on the next waterfall on this one, Horseshoe Falls.
You don't like it?
No, because you said it was the least favorite of the three on the hike.
Yes,
it was
is.
my favorite of the three. Maybe I looked at the photos, and they're quite similar photos in terms of the amount of waterfall or water falling.
Yeah.
Because you said you like the elegance of Russell Falls. I like the chaos of Horseshoe Falls, where you've got water coming from different directions. Yeah, it hits the rocks and then it goes off, and I like that section of it.
Fair enough.
You did not. You thought it was a bit boring.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I mean, the thing is, look, if it was WA, I'd consider that probably one of the best in WA. But to me, I much preferred Russell's sort of gigantic elegance. But yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and you didn't elect to do the tall trees loop on this one, did you? You went straight through to Lady Barron.
Yeah, we did a little bit. We went to that lookout where they have that thing to measure the height of the trees, but we didn't really follow the whole thing. But the trees are as described.
They are very tall.
Very tall.
Because I did, instead of just going straight, I didn't do the whole loop because I would have had to have backtracked, but I did the little side, I guess you could call it like divot.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, through there, and it's really quite cool. There's a few information boards telling you one of your favourite explorers, or pronunciations of explorers, Don Castro.
Oh, Don Tracasto.
Don Tracasto. He described them in quite a beautiful way, and then it's really sad because he saw them in the 1600s, and he said that we should never be cutting them down, and they lose all their beauty as soon as man comes in. And what do? We come in and we cut them all down.
Yeah, but I mean, at least the ones here are protected. It is World Heritage, and these are massive. I think they're like 400 years old. The trees here, if not more, probably even more than 400 if Don Tracasto saw them.
Yeah, and just amazing that you look up and the first branches are like 30-40 meters.
Yeah,
when most trees are done, that's their canopy.
Yep.
It's just baffling to think about how huge they are.
They really remind me a lot of the Karri Forest. I think there's a photo I took here of like a fern, like a mother shield fern, and the because they're mountain ashes, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they have different names depending on where you are. The Victorian name is mountain ash, but they look so much like a Karri. These tall, gigantic trees, and then you get the ferns next to them and all the moss, and it's you can see. I always like to see it as like a window into Gondwana of what would have been there when we were all like that,
and covering the whole island as well.
Yeah,
it would have been crazy. And then moving on to Lady Barron Falls, a little bit of a walk there.
Maybe. Yeah, it's the furthest away of the three.
Yeah, and as I found out, the least popular for people. Yeah. Although that may have been the rain shower that I got scared everyone away.
Ah, right.
Because there is, right near the Tall Trees Walk, is that car park where you cross the road. There's a lot of people scattering to their cars there while I continued on. But again, looking at the photos, I think your visit, you had a lot more water coming through, which maybe explains why it was ranked above Horseshoe Falls in your waterfall measurements.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think it's a smaller waterfall than Russell, but it does have an elegance about it, which I think the Lady Barron kind of name seems rather apt.
Yeah, I remember I was there and I was looking at it, and I just felt like such a horrible person, because I was like, if that tree branch wasn't overhanging in that area, someone should cut that down so I can view it a little better. I was like, God, I sound like such a tourist. But it does add something to the photo as well.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. But it's a cool little spot. You've got a little platform there to rest on, and nice tripod point.
Yeah. And then the climb out from just a bit beyond there, like it follows the creek and then it really climbs out.
Yeah, it's quite an engineering task what they put up there, because it's not just stairs, it's stairs placed on the mountain or the hill, if that makes sense. Like, it's a full structure in itself. It's not just dug into the hill. Yeah, it's quite a cool thing to photograph, but again, it's the end of your hike and you've got to hike up, what is it, like 100 odd meters or 80 meters?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we get to your favourite part of the hike.
The part that reminds me of Western Australia.
Yes.
The burnt forest.
Yes.
Yep. I at this stage had not been home to WA for like 4 months. And I saw all this burnt forest. I said to Alyssa, look, it reminds me of WA. It reminds me of Burnt Jarrah.
Because I took a photo of it and I sent it to you guys, like, remind you of anything, Don?
Yep. And, you know, it was one of those things that I think the comedy of having not been home for the whole summer and then seeing it just added that extra heartwarming reminder of where home is.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
And then from there we should move on to the alpine walks, which I
Yes.
think are another thing altogether.
Yes, they are. So Mount Field's quite special, and it has the rainforest walks and the waterfalls, but then you drive up the mountain and you get these beautiful alpine regions. So you didn't do Mount Field East, did you?
No, we only had time for 2, so it was Lady Barron and Tarnshelf.
So Mount Field East is the first that you'll come across on the road to Lake Dobson. So this one I did before Lady Barron, so I thought I'd get there in the morning when all the mist was around. And it's a beautiful, beautiful hike. You start off climbing quite a lot. So from the car park up to the summit of Mount Field East is the bulk of the climbing for the day. I think it's about 450 vertical meters from the car park up. And you pass, there's Beatty's Tarn, which is a really small little lake, and then you go past Lake Nichols, which has I'm going to say functional hut. It's not great to look at, and it's not particularly inviting when you're inside.
But it's in one of those emergency shelter ones,
Yeah,
is it?
so you're only meant to use it if you're, in trouble and, need somewhere to stay. But it has beautiful views of Lake Nichols, and it had it in the morning light. It was, everything was blue. There was a few clouds around. It was quite magical. And then more scree kind of bouldering as you get on Tassie hikes and up through the Pandani Grove, which I think was the first time I'd seen Pandani.
Did they have some in Hearts Peak? Because I think there are some in that area.
Sorry, there was. But this was kind of like a big thicket.
Oh, like
whereas,
sustained
Pandani.
Pandani.
Yeah, Hearts Peak kind of just had like a little section. It contrasts well, and it reminds me of grass trees.
I feel like they have the same sort of niche in the landscape,
and just the way that they shed their leaves. Because I'm riding up Tarnshelf at the moment, and there was one section which we'll get to later, and they just drop their leaves, but they don't quite drop; they stay attached to the plant. And then once you get out onto the plateau, Mount Field East it doesn't have a lot of prominence. It's just looks like a rubble pile from the plateau there. But it is quite cool. Because you got views back towards Hobart, which is really cool. You can see Mount Wellington in the distance, and then you look back towards where Tarnshelf is, and the Colway Range and those mountains there, and I could see snow on them, and I got a little bit excited.
Yeah.
And then you walk on the Windy Moors, which is more alpine, felt very open. As I wrote in my blog post, I was just waiting for the Rohirrim to muster. It just felt like it was really windy, kind of New Zealand-esque alpine territory.
Yeah.
And then from there, more foresty, like dry forests. The beautiful snow gums. I just love the patterns that they have.
Such beautiful trees, aren't
trunks, they? Yeah. And then so you're above Lake Fenton, and you can see beautiful views out towards the mountains. And then you go up to Seager's Lookout, which takes a bit of rock scrambling and is a fair side trip, but well worth it. You get 360-degree views, and then back down, which I thought the finish, once you get to Lake Fenton, wasn't that fantastic. Like, you got a good snow gum forest, but there's a lot of road walking, and then it's just kind of, the forest that you started in, which was good, but by then you kind of wowed out.
Yeah, it's all the same by that point,
Yeah. So moving on from that one, if you keep driving along the road, which I think is Lake Dobson Road, you get to Lake Dobson.
Yep.
And this is the start of the Tarn Shelf and quite a lot of other mountainy hikes.
Yeah,
in
so
the area.
the network up there is really extensive, and there's a lot of choose-your-own-adventure options here. So the Tarn Shelf is probably the most popular option here, but you can do, there's like the higher one that takes you to Mount Field West and things like that.
The K-Cole one as well, yeah.
Yeah. This, I must say, is my favorite day walk in Tasmania.
Yeah.
The Tarn Shelf.
Okay.
I think it's it'd be in my top 10 in Australia. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's deserved. It is. It has so much going for it. Like, it's a good length. The scenery is just stunning. Yeah, great views, alpine, plenty to see, and your favorite type of pine as well.
Oh yes, I love the pencil pines. It has two of my favorite trees ever: pencil pines and snow gums.
Yeah,
and heaps of them as well.
And you got to experience it in probably peak period as well in autumn, didn't you?
Yeah, because they have the turning of the Fagus as well. So we saw the thing that's fantastic about it is it's just this extended walk through alpine terrain with all these tarns that have been carved by glaciers. And then in autumn, you just get these fields of orange, yellow, and red just on the mountainside, and it's just breathtaking.
Yeah,
I can't recommend this hike enough.
yeah.
It's got so much going for it.
I think you got it in the best condition it could probably be in. I think I got it in some of the worst conditions it could be in.
Yep. So I obviously had autumn leaves, sunny day. What did you have?
I was heading towards summer, so it was early November. There was a weather warning out that day. It was going to be windy, rainy during the day, and then it was snowing in the alpine regions at night. And I kind of ummed and ahed whether I wanted to do it, but I was like, you know what, I've been up Bluff Knoll and the Stirling Ridges when it's been really windy. I'll be fine. If it looks to be going bad, I can always turn around, make a decision at the base of the climb. But yeah, it was really, really overcast. My favourite word that I remember saying over and over again was buffeting. Because on the actual Tarn Shelf itself, it was so windy that I couldn't keep my footing at times. Like, if I was walking,
wow,
I was being blown off track either way. I really had to make sure I nailed the landing on all the rocks. Otherwise,
because it's all rock. There's no soil and a lot of that.
Yeah, so I had to pick where I was going to go and like hold myself when it got really windy. It was fun, but I just like halfway through walking through the tarns, I was like, right, I just have to get out. I can't be on these rocks anymore. Just trying to find like a sheltered place. But then it cleared up. I ran into an Inspiration Outdoors group that had gone to do the Tarn Shelf and then turned back because it was too windy and blowy. So I caught them up, and then it just fined up. Like, it was still a little bit windy, but then the sun came out and it actually was quite nice for the rest of the hike.
Yeah. There are 3 huts along the walk that can be used for shelter.
Yeah.
So that does give you a chance to escape the worst of the inclement weather if you are stuck in it.
So yeah, between the second hut, which I think is Newdigate Hut, that's where I got the bulk of the weather. And I thought, you know what, I'll just keep going. It'll probably get better. So I didn't really have a reason to stop at any of them.
Yeah.
And I actually think I walked into Newdigate Hut and I was just like, you know what, this is a bit creepy. There's wind, lots of weather around, lots of wind. It's, graying over. I don't really want to be in here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, where, the boogeyman can murder me. But yeah, you mentioned the huts there. They are spectacular. And the first one, Twilight Tarn,
yeah,
is just like a throwback into, years gone past. And they've kept it that way, which I like.
Yeah, for sure. And you're allowed to camp, not in the hut, but you can camp around there. So a lot of people do this as like an overnight, and they'll stay up at Twilight Tarn and then do that as a 2-day circuit. And they have a toilet near there as well. So it's well set up to be done as a fairly low-key overnight.
And they've kept a lot of the relics from when it used to be a ski
club. It's pretty cool, the stuff in there, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought I would, because I'd seen your photos, I knew what to expect. I was like, I wonder if it's going to be as creepy as it feels. But I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, just seeing like all the forks laid out, and then you've got the skis next to the fireplace. The other room where you had the bunks and everything, that was a little bit creepier.
Yeah, and there's like a room that they've hammered shut
Yeah.
in the back there, and that's a little bit creepy as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it's beautiful. And they've got the photos all up on the walls of, what it used to be like, and people enjoying, the trips from Hobart. I think they took the train out and then got horses to come up.
Oh, right.
That would have been quite an effort back
Yeah.
in the day.
Apparently they used to be able to, the lake used to freeze over and they used to ski on there, but it hasn't for a very long time.
Yeah, I doubt it will with climate change.
Nope.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a wintry paradise.
Yeah.
You can see why people wanted to get out there and spend the winter there, even though it would have been cold.
For sure.
Yeah. And then what are we looking at? So you obviously did the Tarn Shelf. Did you have thoughts of going up to Cole and doing the Rodway Range as well?
We did, but we didn't have the time, and it was kind of a hot day. It was very, no cloud, very exposed. There's no tree cover for a lot of it. So we were, ready to call it a day. How about yourself? I guess too inclement?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I probably wouldn't have done it even if it was fine, just because I wanted to do the official Tarn Shelf circuit. But had I have stayed for another day in the area, I probably would have gone up to Mountfield West and probably done Cole on the Rodway Range as well.
Yeah.
Just because, looking at it from down below, you're like, oh, that looks
look
fun.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's where all the snow was.
Yeah.
I think on this hike I took 1,600 photos, and I edited up 240 odd, and a lot of them are just that view as you're walking along the Tarn Shelf of the mountains and the snow, and
So even with the inclement weather, you thought this was an amazing walk?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then, even in whiteout conditions, I probably would have still enjoyed it. But yeah, having the views. That's a good thing about it being windy is the clouds disappeared quite quickly once they were up there. So I did get the views looking over Lake Seal.
Yeah.
Which, after the disappointment of Platypus Tarn early on, I didn't want to do the side trip because I knew there was going to be no seals down there.
For sure. So a walk that I didn't do, which is nearby but not part of Mountfield National Park, was Marriott Falls, which you've done.
Yes, it's just near one of the towns, just off the highway, and it's a bit of a weird hike. You follow the river for a little bit, and then you come to this open grassland area, which had a farming purpose back in the day, but the local man care group have started to rehabilitate it. And then you get really stuck into rainforest. Shortish section to the falls, but really enjoyable. And then Marriott's Falls itself is kind of like Snug Falls on steroids.
Okay.
It's a lot taller. There's a tree which I think from research fell in 2015, but it provides a nice photo feature to the falls.
An artfully fallen tree.
Yeah, looks quite nice, and there's lots of little areas down near the stream that comes off that you can explore. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a late afternoon hike for me, and then getting back to my Airbnb, it was just a nice end to the day. But yeah, highly recommend if you're going to do Mountfield. It's not too far away. It's maybe 10 or 20 minutes drive. Make sure you check out Marriott's Falls as well.
Cool. Might do that next time I'm in the area.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then from there, we will skip on and we'll go to Lake St. Clair, Cradle Mountain area.
Yeah. So because of how long the park is and because it goes through the middle, we'll talk about Lake St. Clair first and then talk about some of the stuff on the west coast and then move up to Cradle Mountain. So at Lake St. Clair, most people know it probably for the overland, and there's walks that you can do, like for example you could take the ferry across to Narcissus and then walk back along the lake. That's a nice walk. It goes along the lake. There's a lot of rainforest through there. There's the really beautiful Echo Point hut there, so that's a nice option. But if you're really pressed for time, then the short walks there are really an enjoyable, but they're not epic, but they're a good little stroll to do.
Yeah.
So
Good to kind of stretch your legs and see the area rather than just go to a lookout and...
Exactly. So Alyssa and I went there as basically because when we did the overland, we didn't really get to see the area because, when you see a side trip when you've finished an 8-day hike, you're not really interested at that point. We just want to finish and have, 10 on a plate.
Yeah.
So we went and did that sort of area there, and there's a walk there called the Lake St. Clair Short Walks, which includes it's like a figure 8 walk. There's the Platypus Bay Loop and the La Mer Remina Tabelti, which is an indigenous name, and it's an Aboriginal heritage walk.
Yeah.
So the way I suggest doing it is basically you walk up the overland track to Rivers Meet, you do the Platypus Bay Loop, and then come back and do the Aboriginal Heritage Trail.
What was it again, Don?
It was the La Mer Remina Tabelti. Yep.
Bless you.
And, so the platypus one, if you get up early enough, you might see a platypus. We didn't see a platypus. Yeah. I will probably never see a platypus, I reckon.
I'm in that boat too, yeah.
Rivers Meet is cool. And then the Aboriginal Heritage Trail has these like plaques that have information about the Aboriginal heritage of the area and how terrible, I guess, the colonial powers were to the Aboriginals. It's quite shameful.
Because they pretty much wiped them out, didn't they?
Pretty much. It was, it's like, it was attempted genocide, basically. Yeah. So nothing to be proud of there.
No.
But yeah, it's an interesting walk with a lot of information about what the people used to do when they lived in this area. It's worth doing. I enjoyed it. It was my last walk for 2018. It was a nice way to finish the year.
Well, there's still plenty of walks in the area that you can get to do. Right.
So if you have time, if we had time, we would have done the Shadow Lake circuit or the Mount Rufus circuit. Mount Rufus, I really want to do. I like the name Mount Rufus. It sounds funny.
Yep.
Sounds
like a dog's name.
It
Rufus.
Does. It just makes me think of wallabies, so the Rufus-haired wallabies. Yeah. So, yeah, it's something that we would probably do in the future. But moving on from there, heading up along the Lyle Highway, there's heaps to explore here. There's so much that Alyssa and I did a road trip up this coast, and we were limited. We did Frenchman's Cap, so we were pretty tired. Didn't want to do too many walks, but there was so many. Like basically, just driving down there, and there'll be like this one like Donaghy's Mill on the side of the road. There's Montezuma Falls, which is the tallest waterfall, which we didn't do because we were told that they hadn't had rain for a while, so it might be a bit crap.
Yeah.
And then there's this one just outside of Queenstown that is walking along like a cliff. There's like this platform that's attached to the side of the...
I think I saw this recently. And
yeah.
Does it lead to a waterfall?
It leads to a waterfall.
Yeah.
And it's just like insane. And then as you keep driving up the coast, there's just all these mountains everywhere. And some of them are just as impressive as some of the famous ones. And they just have a low key, like, oh yeah, here's a walk trail up the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. Typical Tassie, just don't know how lucky they are.
Exactly. Like in WA, we would be lucky to have, any of these mountains. I will take, I'll take 3 of your crappy ones that no one cares about.
Yeah. We'll exchange it for a nice beach.
Yeah, exactly. But what we did go to was basically because Montezuma Falls was going to be crappy. We went instead to the Tarkine, which was cool. So we went to Coroner, which is this old town that's right by the river. I think it was like a milling town or mining town. And it's kind of like, for Western Australians, it's a bit like Donnelly River Village in terms of like it's been converted to like this touristy kind of place with all these huts along, these sort of like loggers' huts that have been turned into accommodation. And there's a few walks through here. There's the Hue and Pine Walk, which is a unremarkable walk that somehow is a great day walk.
Yeah.
You basically just follow a boardwalk to a Hue and Pine, and it's not that impressive a Hue and Pine, but it's wheelchair accessible, so that's probably why it got there.
Yeah.
But the better walk there, I think, was the White River Track, which is a nice loop that goes up along the river and then to one of the tributaries, and then back to Coroner. And that's a lovely, easy walk, through rainforest. You can see why there's plans to try and make a multi-day walk. Bob Brown's really pushing for it because, this area is really lovely. There's a lot of mining in between there. So like the drive into town was horrible.
Yeah. Because they've got the Save the Tarkine kind of movement going now.
Yeah, because people want to cut it down, and
Yeah.
it's crazy when you see it. You know, it's unbelievable that they want to cut it down. So yeah, I really think that it's worth seeing, and this was a nice taster. Like Alyssa and I saw this as let's go have a bit of a taste for it. If we like it, we'll come back again, and we liked it, so we'll come back again.
Yeah.
So from there, we move on to probably what is
probably most underrated part of Tasmania.
Yeah, probably the part that no one ever goes to.
Yeah, very little information about.
Yeah, no, you know, you don't get tour buses there, and that is Cradle Mountain. And this is, you know, we'd visited this area before as part of the Overland, which we've talked about in an earlier pod. But the thing here is that the network is just like Mount Field. It's a very complex network. So you can do a lot of different choose-your-own adventures here. Probably the most famous walk in this area, day walk, that is not on the Overland, surprisingly, is the Dove Lake Circuit, which is a super easy walk. It's like mostly flat. But the whole time it's just basically Instagrammable shots of Cradle Mountain in action.
Yeah, I know you were excited to get certain shots from this this hike because you are a bit of an influencer on Instagram.
Yeah, I guess in a very minor, like I'm probably like a 10th grade influencer. But this was
it's still cool to get those shots though.
Oh yeah, you know, like as like cliche as some of them were. Like I said to Alyssa, you know, like there's ones where like there's, you know, you can walk down to a beach and you can see it and you can get the shot that's like, oh, I've just stumbled upon Cradle Mountain, and it's completely contrived and you know, rubbish, but it's cool. It's a cool shot.
Still want it.
And of course this has the famous boat shed that everyone photographs. We were outstandingly lucky because the sky was clear, and also we'd arrived. So if you want to get into the park, I really recommend going as early as possible, mainly because the tourist masses get out at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is the tourist o'clock.
Yeah, it's the Adventure Don rule.
It is the rule. You know, if you go to any tourist site that's popular, 10 o'clock is when they'll all be out. Before then, you can have the park to yourself. So we arrived at like 8 something in the morning, I think maybe even earlier. And if you arrive early, you beat the first bus and you're allowed to drive right to Dove Lake. So normally you can't drive right up to there, but if you're there early enough, you can. And so we were the first people of the day to walk the Dove Lake Circuit. I know that because we pushed through a lot of cobwebs. And because of it, I was able to get the boat shed shot without a million people in it, because we walked past it later in the day and there were a lot of people there, like just the tourist masses, just like, you know, getting their phones out and getting their selfies and then standing in the photo. So like not just standing on the beach looking at the boat shed, but being beyond the boat shed and ruining people's photos.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah.
You're just thoughtless.
You knew what to do though.
Yeah. And the other walk to do in the area, of course, is Cradle Mountain itself. So this is there's a number of approaches. There's a lot of, you know, it's a choose your own adventure. But I think the nice way to do it is to go past Wombat Pool. Wombat Pool's very similar to what you can expect of somewhere like Walls of Jerusalem, I think, or further along the Overland. So it's a cool place to check out. And then you have the really steep climb up to Marion's Lookout. And that's, you know, another classic view of the mountain. When we did the Overland here was when the clouds parted and, you know, we saw the mountain.
Yeah. Which I think is our Facebook cover photo.
Yeah, it is. The photos we had were in some way, quote unquote, better this trip, but I don't like them as much as the dramatic.
Yeah, it certainly has a lot more feel and like atmosphere, the first one that you took.
For sure.
Yeah.
However, the first time I didn't get to the summit itself, because just as I got to the last hurdle, just this huge wind came in and all these clouds blew in, and it was just like I couldn't see anything. It was dangerous. I got down. But on this occasion, it was the best of both worlds, that I got my nice dramatic photos last time, and this time I got to get to the summit. Yeah. And the cool thing about the summit is, because Cradle's quite prominent and it's quite centrally located, is that you can see all these other mountains. So you can see, I could see Frenchman's Cap. I could see the other mountains of the Overland. I could see the walls of Jerusalem from there, and it's awesome to be there and to be able to see everything around you. So definitely, it lives up to its reputation. It's probably one of my favorite mountain walks. The second time around, Alyssa didn't want to join me, so I just ran up the mountain. I did it in very, very quick time.
Yeah.
Much less than they suggested it was required. But my knees were hurting for a month after from the running.
It was worth it though, right?
Oh, it was worth it. And people were like, holy crap, this guy is just running up the mountain.
Ultra marathon.
I thought, well, if Alyssa's not going to join me, I'm going to do it as fast as possible. And I love that mountain. It's one of my favorites anywhere in Australia. And then finally, the last thing I'll talk about is Walls of Jerusalem. So if you're super keen, you can do there and back on Walls of Jerusalem as a day hike. And
how keen do you have to be, though?
Well, keen enough to want to do like 600 meters in the first 3 kilometers, 600 meter vertical ascent.
It's a decent gradient right there.
Yeah, it is. So the thing I'll say about it is it's very much all the challenges in the start, and then it's easy going from there. So, I mean, if you think about how long Tarn Shelf is, which is, it's like, 17 Ks or something like that? Like it's
16, 15, yeah.
In that sort of, mid-teens range. Walking to Mount Jerusalem makes sense as a day walk. It's, it's a bit longer than that, but you could, if you started early and finished later, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And you can see basically the greatest hits of the area in the one day. I think it's nicer as a multi-day. But if you don't have the time and you just want to see Mount Jerusalem is an outstanding mountain. It's easy once you've got over that initial climb into the park. And the scenery is, I'd say, very similar to Tarn Shelf in that there's a lot of tarns, but then the inner walls of Jerusalem is like one of probably the most beautiful things in Tasmania, and it's definitely worth seeing given that it was very close to catching fire this year.
Yeah.
I think go see it. Go see the beautiful pencil pine forest that's near Dixon's Kingdom. It's outstanding. It's a beautiful walk, and if you only have time, do it as a day hike. But if you have the time, do it as a 3-day, which we've also talked about in an earlier pod.
Yes, indeed. So that pretty much wraps up our experiences with Tassie day walks. Obviously there are plenty more out there.
Oh, so many more.
And I guess if you were to make a list, I'm guessing it would be 3 figures deep in terms of trails left. Because just the Tassie 60 great day walks list that the Parks department has is 60 walks. That's quite a large amount.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I was certainly looking at ones that weren't even on that list. Saying,
even Tarn Shelf's not on there, which is insane.
But the Pandani Grove circuit
that
you walk on to get there is, yeah. I mean, Tassie is a huge place, and it is blessed with a lot of natural beauty and kind of lovely forest that hopefully will remain untouched for quite a while. But you never know. We did have the fires recently that devastated the whole state for over a month now. Yeah.
So, there were photos of like Lake Rona, which has its own track there. And just seeing how badly that was burnt was, really sad, especially because we read about Rona, who the lake was named after. It just felt like it was her property that we saw burnt. And it was very depressing. But there's so much, there will be so much there that is not burnt that you can go and do.
Yeah. And obviously, if you want to read all about the adventures and see some photos, we will be linking them. But both our blogs, Life of Pi and The Long Ways Better, contain a wealth of information.
Yeah, I think collectively we have over 20 day walks?
I think I did 14 or 15, so we've probably got closer to 30 now.
Yeah, I think haven't done quite as many because I've done more.
And we have overlaps as well, so probably about 20. Yeah,
say
that makes
20.
Sense. Yeah. So if you're planning a trip to Tassie, we hope you're listening to this podcast, and definitely recommend going and checking out the websites for more info.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you everyone for listening. If you had any questions or suggestions for future pods, please send us an email at realtrailtalk@gmail.com or message us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you're enjoying this pod, please give us a rating on iTunes, Podbean, or whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.